There are dates when God seems to whisper closer than usual, and there's one in particular when the entire heaven bends down to hear the prayers of his children, December 8th. Padre Pio used to say that on this day, grace doesn't just descend, it invades. It's as if something invisible breaks open in the spiritual realm and what's been stuck for years finally starts to move. Many people see this date as just another feast on the church calendar, but for those who know the mysteries of heaven, it's so much more. It's the day when the Immaculate Conception reveals her power as mother, the day when Mary, undoer of knots, walks among the tangles of human life and touches exactly the one you don't even know where to begin unraveling anymore. What almost nobody knows is that Padre Pio left a precious teaching specifically for this day. He said there are 3 prayers that, when prayed on December 8th with complete surrender, attract direct intervention from Mary. 3 prayers that open pathways, break spiritual chains, undo ancient burdens, and release what you've been asking for a long time but seemed like it would never arrive. And maybe it hasn't arrived yet because you didn't know about this. Padre Pio used to say, Mary acts where the soul surrenders. And that's why you're here right now. Because nothing in your life happens by accident, not even hearing this message today. If you're carrying an old knot, if there's something that hurts, blocks, paralyzes, suffocates you, something that's been with you for years, then get ready. This might be the day when heaven starts untying it all. If you believe in the power of Mary to untie the knots of your life, write in the comments, Mary, untie my knots. Your simple act of faith can be the beginning of your miracle. There are days when heaven seems to descend to earth, and December 8th is exactly like that. The Church celebrates the Immaculate Conception, and alongside this celebration, millions of devoted hearts turn to Mary, undoer of knots, the one who unties what human beings cannot resolve on their own. Padre Pio taught that on this particular day, something shifts in the spiritual realm. It's not just about remembering a doctrine or honoring a title. It's about recognizing that God chose this day to allow Mary to pour out a special light over the most painful knots of the soul. Think about it for a moment. How many things in your life feel stuck? How many situations seem frozen in time, no matter how much you pray or how hard you work to change them? These are the knots Padre Pio was talking about. They're not always visible on the outside, but you feel them on the inside. They're the addictions that keep coming back, the fears that paralyze you at night, the stories that got interrupted and never found their ending, the relationships that broke and left sharp pieces in your heart, the old wounds that time alone can't heal, the spiritual uncertainties that make you question everything, the guilt that years haven't been able to erase. For Padre Pio, December 8th wasn't just another date on the liturgical calendar. It was a moment when God permits Mary to step into those impossible situations and do what only a mother can do, gently work through the tangles until everything comes loose. He used to tell people that Mary doesn't just pray for us from a distance. On this day, she gets close, she touches, she works with her hands in the invisible realm where our deepest struggles live. The beauty of this teaching is that it's not complicated. Padre Pio wasn't asking people to do elaborate rituals or impossible penances. He was asking for something much simpler and much harder, complete surrender. He said there are 3 specific prayers that, when prayed with true faith on December 8th, have the power to open pathways that seemed permanently closed, to dissolve blockages that felt like concrete walls, to release graces that Mary herself promised to pour out on those who pray with genuine trust. But here's what most people miss. These aren't magic formulas. They're not about saying the right words in the right order and expecting instant results like some kind of spiritual vending machine. What makes these prayers powerful is the state of the heart that prays them. It's the willingness to let go of control, to admit you can't fix this on your own, to place your deepest pain into hands that are strong enough to hold it. Padre Pio knew that the first knot that prevents grace from flowing is always the same one. It's not the obvious problem you're dealing with. It's not the financial struggle, the health crisis, the broken relationship, or the wayward child. Those are symptoms. The first knot, the one that keeps all the others tight, is something that lives deeper in the soul. And that's exactly where the first prayer begins. You know, Padre Pio always said that the rosary was his greatest weapon in spiritual battle. For him, prayer wasn't just words floating into empty space. It was a powerful force that could literally change reality. That's exactly why we created something special for you. It's called The Power of the Rosary with Padre Pio, Miracles, Protection, and Divine Graces. This spiritual treasure will help you learn to pray the rosary with deeper devotion, discover the miracles and testimonies of those who have experienced its power, and understand Padre Pio's most impactful teachings about prayer. Inside, you'll find a 30-day prayer guide with daily intentions to strengthen your faith, along with special prayers for protection, healing, and deliverance. The rosary was Padre Pio's great weapon, and today it can be yours too. Don't miss this opportunity to strengthen your spiritual life with material that has already helped thousands of people. To download it, just click on the link pinned in the comments. Now, let's get back to these 3 powerful prayers that Padre Pio taught for December 8th, because what I'm about to share with you could change everything. Padre Pio used to say that the first knot preventing grace from acting in our lives is resentment. Not anger, not even hatred, but that quiet, stubborn resentment that we carry like old luggage we refuse to put down. It's the memory of what someone did to us years ago, the words that cut deep and never quite healed, the betrayal we can't forget, the injustice that still burns when we think about it. Here's the thing about resentment. It doesn't just hurt the person who wronged us. It doesn't even really affect them most of the time. They've moved on with their lives while we're still replaying the scene in our minds, still feeling that sharp pain, still waiting for an apology that may never come or justice that feels impossible. Resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick, but the only one being poisoned is us. That's why Padre Pio insisted that the first prayer for December 8th must be the prayer of deep forgiveness. Not surface forgiveness where you say the words, but your heart stays locked. Not partial forgiveness where you let go of some things, but hold on to others. Deep forgiveness, the kind that reaches into the basement of your soul where you've been storing all those boxes labeled things I'll never forget and people who don't deserve my mercy. This prayer should be prayed like this. Immaculate Virgin, untie today the knot in my heart. Teach me to forgive what I still can't let go. Wash my memory, heal my wounds, and free my soul from the weight I carry. Untie this knot. And here you say specifically what it is. Name the person if you need to. Name the situation. Be honest about what's really stuck. Then finish, Mother, I trust in you. According to Padre Pio, the soul that learns to forgive becomes free to receive. Think about it like this. If your hands are full of stones you picked up to defend yourself or throw at others, how can you receive the gifts heaven wants to give you? You can't. Your hands are occupied. Forgiveness isn't about saying that what happened was okay. It's about putting down the stones so your hands are empty enough to receive grace. I want to share something Padre Pio once told a woman who came to him completely broken by bitterness. She'd been hurt by her own family, people who should have protected her but instead wounded her deeply. She told him she wanted to forgive but couldn't. She'd tried for years and the resentment kept coming back like a weed that wouldn't die. Padre Pio looked at her with those eyes that seemed to see right through to the soul and said something she never forgot. You're trying to forgive with your own strength. That's why it keeps coming back. Give the resentment to Mary and ask her to forgive through you. That's the secret right there. This first prayer isn't asking you to manufacture feelings you don't have. It's not asking you to pretend the hurt wasn't real or that you're over something when you're clearly not. It's asking you to hand over the weight to someone strong enough to carry it. Mary can forgive through you. She can wash your memory, not by erasing it, but by taking the poison out of it. The memory might stay, but the sting goes away. The scar remains, but the wound closes. When you pray this prayer on December 8th with real surrender, something begins to shift inside you. It's not always immediate. Sometimes it takes days or weeks to notice, but you'll start to feel lighter. You'll think about that person or that situation and realize the rage isn't there anymore. The obsessive thoughts quiet down. You might even find yourself praying for the person who hurt you without forcing it, just naturally, because your heart has been untied. This is the liberation Padre Pio was talking about. This is what opens the door for the other knots to start loosening. Because once your heart isn't closed by resentment anymore, God can come in. And when God comes in, everything changes. That's when you're ready for the second prayer. After the first prayer creates space in your heart, you're ready for what Padre Pio called the direct petition. This is where you bring to Mary the one knot that's been choking your life more than any other. Not a list of problems, not everything that's going wrong. Just one. The deepest one, the one that really hurts, the one that keeps you awake at 3 a.m, the one you've tried to fix 100 different ways and nothing has worked. Padre Pio insisted on this. On December 8th, you should present only one single request to Mary, undoer of knots. That might seem limiting at first. You might think, but I have so many problems. Why can't I ask for help with all of them? Here's why. Because when you focus on everything, you end up focusing on nothing. Your energy scatters. Your faith dilutes. But when you take all that prayer power and concentrate it on one specific thing, on the knot that's really strangling you, that's when breakthrough happens. The prayer should be prayed like this. Mother, undoer of knots, I place in your hands this knot that paralyzes me. You who are the Immaculate One, who never knew the knot of sin, enter now into my story and untangle this mess I cannot resolve. I beg you, untie the knot of, and here you say exactly what it is. Be specific, be detailed, be raw and honest. If it's a broken relationship, say the person's name. If it's an addiction, name it without shame. If it's a financial disaster, describe the situation. If it's a health crisis, tell her the diagnosis. If it's a wayward child, speak their name out loud. This isn't the time to be vague or polite or spiritual sounding. This is the time to lay it all out like you would to your own mother when you've reached the end of yourself. Then finish. Mother, do what I cannot do. That last line is crucial. Do what I cannot do. It's an admission of powerlessness. And Padre Pio taught that this admission is where miracles begin. As long as you think you can handle it yourself, as long as you're still trying to maintain control and just asking for a little assistance on the side, the knot stays tight. But when you finally say, I can't do this, I've tried everything and I'm out of options, you do it. That's when Mary can actually work. Padre Pio used to say that heaven acts exactly at the point where human beings surrender, not before. Not when we're still half-heartedly holding on while asking for help, but right at that moment when we open our hands completely and let go. It's scary, isn't it? Because letting go means admitting you're not in control, and most of us have spent our whole lives trying to stay in control of something, anything. But here's what Padre Pio knew from his own life of intense suffering and miraculous intervention. The knots that bind us are too complicated for human fingers to untie. They've been forming for years, sometimes generations. They have roots that go deeper than we can see. They involve spiritual dimensions we don't understand. We need hands that work in the invisible realm, hands that can see the whole tangle from above, hands that know exactly which thread to pull first. That's why this prayer on December 8th is so powerful. You're not just asking for help, You're handing over the entire problem. You're giving Mary permission to enter your story at the deepest level and work in ways you might not even recognize at first. Sometimes she unties knots by changing circumstances. Sometimes she unties them by changing us. Sometimes she does both at once. But she always responds when we surrender completely. I know someone who prayed this prayer for a marriage that had been dead for years. Not just struggling, but actually dead. No communication, no affection, nothing but two people living in the same house like strangers who couldn't stand each other. She'd tried counseling, tried changing herself, tried everything. Nothing moved. On December 8th, she prayed this second prayer and actually gave up her own agenda for how it should be fixed. She just said, "Mother, untie this knot however you need to. Do what I cannot do." 3 weeks later, her husband had what he could only describe as a spiritual experience. Something broke in him. He came to her crying, something she hadn't seen in a decade. And they started talking, really talking. 6 months after that, they renewed their vows. Was it the prayer? Was it coincidence? Padre Pio would say, there's no such thing as coincidence in the life of someone who prays with real faith. The third prayer is the deepest one because it seals everything you've done. Padre Pio taught that Mary unties the knots. Yes, but they only stay untied when the person consecrates themselves to her. This is what fixes the grace in place. This is what prevents evil from coming back and retying what just got loosened. Think of it like this. Imagine you finally untangle a really stubborn knot in a necklace chain. If you just leave that chain lying around carelessly, it's going to tangle again, right? But if you put it in a protective case, if you take care of it, it stays free. That's what consecration does. It puts your life, your heart, your struggles under Mary's protective care so that what got untied stays untied. This prayer is prayed like this. Most Holy Immaculate Conception, today I consecrate my life, my home, my paths, and my heart to you. Place upon me your spotless mantle and protect me from all evil. Definitively untie the knots I have surrendered today and guide my steps so I never return to what held me captive. Mother, I belong to you. Mary, undoer of knots. Pray for me. Notice that phrase, I belong to you. That's not flowery religious language. That's a declaration of total dependence. It's saying, I'm not my own anymore, I'm yours. My decisions, my future, my relationships, my work, my struggles, they're all under your care now. For Padre Pio, this wasn't about losing your identity or your free will. It was about finally putting your life in hands that won't let you fall. A lot of people pray for miracles but don't want to make this commitment. They want the knot untied, but they want to keep living the same way, making the same choices, going back to the same situations that created the knot in the first place. And guess what happens? The knot comes back. Maybe not immediately, but eventually, because nothing changed at the root level. Padre Pio knew this from working with thousands of souls. He saw people experience incredible graces and then lose them because they didn't seal what they received. It's like getting healed from an illness, but refusing to change the lifestyle that caused the illness. You'll just get sick again. The consecration is what changes the lifestyle. It's what puts you under a new authority, a new protection, a new way of living. When you say, I belong to you, to Mary, you're also saying, I don't belong to my past anymore. I don't belong to my fears anymore. I don't belong to the people who hurt me, or the mistakes I made, or the shame I've been carrying. I belong to the Mother of God, and she's not letting anything touch me that doesn't pass through her first. That's the power of the spotless mantle. In Padre Pio's teaching, Mary's mantle isn't just symbolic, it's real spiritual protection. When she covers you with it, you're shielded from attacks you don't even see coming. Temptations that used to drag you down suddenly lose their power. Situations that used to trigger you don't affect you the same way. People who used to manipulate you can't get their hooks in anymore. It's like there's an invisible barrier between you and everything that wants to retie those knots. But consecration is also a commitment. It means you're agreeing to live differently. You're agreeing to check in with Mary before making big decisions. You're agreeing to pray the rosary, to honor her feast days, to speak to her like the mother she is. It means when you're tempted to go back to old patterns, you remember whose you are now. You remember that you're wearing her mantle, and you act accordingly. Padre Pio used to tell people that the difference between asking and consecrating is the difference between renting and owning. When you just ask for things, you're renting grace for a moment. It comes, it helps, and then it goes. But when you consecrate, you're letting grace move in permanently. You're giving it ownership of your life. And that's when transformation stops being temporary and becomes permanent. I've seen this with my own eyes. People who prayed the first 2 prayers and got amazing answers, but then slowly drifted back to their old ways because they never made that final commitment. And I've seen people who consecrated themselves to Mary on December 8th, and their whole lives shifted trajectory, not because they became perfect, but because they were under protection. Every time they stumbled, there were hands to catch them. Every time they faced a new knot, there was someone already working on it before they even asked. That's what this 3rd prayer does. It doesn't just untie one knot. It puts your entire life under the care of the undoer of knots, so that as new tangles try to form, they're dissolved before they can strangle you. This is what Padre Pio meant when he said, "Mary acts where the soul surrenders." Total surrender, total consecration, total transformation. After you pray these 3 prayers on December 8th, something begins to happen. But here's what Padre Pio wanted people to understand. It's not a spectacle. Heaven doesn't usually work with fireworks and obvious miracles that everyone can see. Mary acts quietly, subtly, in ways that often only the person praying even notices. Padre Pio explained that the person praying might not recognize the grace working until later. Sometimes it's days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months before you look back and realize, oh, that's when it changed. That's when the door opened. That's when the person's heart softened. That's when the situation started resolving itself. The grace was working all along. You just couldn't see it in real time. What should you look for? An unexpected answer to something you'd given up on. A deep peace that returns to your heart for no obvious reason. A situation that somehow resolves itself without your intervention, like invisible hands were working behind the scenes. A person who suddenly comes back into your life after years of silence. A path that opens up out of nowhere when all paths seemed closed. A weight that just disappears, and you realize one day you're not carrying it anymore. These are the quiet signs that Mary is untying your knots. She doesn't make announcements. She doesn't demand recognition. She just works the way a mother works for her children, expecting nothing in return except that they trust her and let her do what needs to be done. Padre Pio used to say that Mary's work is like yeast in bread dough. You don't see the yeast doing anything. You can't watch it work, but you mix it in, you let it sit, and slowly, invisibly, the whole lump rises. That's how grace works when you pray these 3 prayers. You plant the seed on December 8th with your act of surrender, and then you trust that something is growing even when you can't see it yet. But patience is required here. We live in a culture that wants instant everything. Instant coffee, instant communication, instant results. We pray and expect God to move on our timeline, but heaven has its own timing. And Padre Pio taught that sometimes the delay is actually part of the answer. Sometimes you're not ready yet for what you're asking for. Sometimes the situation needs more preparation. Sometimes other people's free will is involved, and God is working on their hearts too. The promise still stands, though. Mary promised that she will untie the knots of those who abandon themselves into her hands. On December 8th, that promise becomes especially powerful. because it's her day, the day celebrating the grace that kept her free from every single knot from the very first moment of her existence. She knows what it means to live completely untangled, and she wants that for you too. That's why Padre Pio was so insistent about these 3 prayers. He wasn't giving people a superstitious ritual. He was giving them a roadmap to freedom. Forgive deeply so your heart can open. Surrender completely so grace can work. Consecrate totally so the freedom lasts. Those 3 movements together create the conditions for Mary to do what she does best: untie the impossible knots that human hands can't touch. So if you've made it this far, here's what I want you to do. Choose the main knot of your life right now. Not all of them, just the one that's really choking you. The one you think about constantly. The one that makes you feel hopeless when you're honest with yourself. Write down these 3 prayers somewhere you won't lose them. And on December 8th, pray them with everything you have. Don't worry about praying them perfectly. Don't worry about whether you're doing it right. Just open your heart, speak honestly, and trust that the mother who loves you more than you can imagine is listening. Trust that she's already reaching for that knot, already beginning to work the tangle loose, already preparing the grace you need. Mary doesn't abandon her children, and when she unties a knot, it doesn't come back to imprison you again. That's her promise. That's what Padre Pio spent his life teaching. That's what December 8th is all about. My dear friends, we've walked through something powerful today. 3 simple prayers that carry the weight of heaven's intervention. 3 prayers that Padre Pio himself taught because he knew from his own intimate relationship with Mary that she never refuses a soul that comes to her in genuine need. Remember what we've learned here. The first prayer breaks the knot of resentment and opens your heart through forgiveness. The second prayer hands over your deepest struggle into Mary's capable hands. The third prayer seals everything through consecration and keeps you under her protective mantle. Together, these 3 prayers create a complete movement from bondage to freedom. Padre Pio used to say that we're never alone in our struggles, even when it feels like no one understands. Mary understands. She watched her own son suffer and die. She knows what it means to carry unbearable pain. And she's here, right now, waiting to help you carry yours. If this message has touched your heart today, I want you to do something important. Write in the comments, "Mary, I trust in you." This isn't just a comment. It's a declaration of faith. It's you telling heaven that you're ready to let go and let her work. And your simple act of faith helps this message reach more people who are carrying knots they don't know how to untie. But I also want to ask you to do something else. If you believe in the mission of this channel, if you think these messages of hope and faith need to reach more broken hearts, then please hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs it, and consider becoming a member of our community. We're not just making videos here. We're building a family of faith, a community of people who believe that heaven still moves, that Mary still unties knots, that miracles still happen for those who trust. Every like, every share, every subscription helps us spread Padre Pio's wisdom to more souls who are desperate for hope. You're not just supporting a channel, you're supporting a mission to bring light into darkness, to bring freedom to those who are bound, to bring Mary's love to those who feel forgotten. December 8th is coming. You now know what to do. You now have the prayers. You now understand the power of complete surrender. Don't let this knowledge stay just in your head. Let it move into your heart. Let it become action. Let it become the day when your life starts to change because you finally handed your knots to the only one who can truly untie them. May Mary, undoer of knots, intercede for you. May she take your tangled life into her gentle hands. May she work through every impossible situation until you're finally free. And may you experience, as thousands before you have experienced, that when you abandon yourself completely into her care, she never, ever lets you fall. Go in peace, dear brothers and sisters. Your miracle is already being prepared.